What's going on, guys? It's your boy Soda, and welcome to another round of the Soda Session. Today, I have three amazing guests with me: Harry Gestetner, Simon Pompan, and most of all, Cameron Dallas. So, welcome, guys. So glad to have you here. Let's get fizzy with it. Hey. All right.
Let's go.
Whew. So, first and foremost, I want to thank all three of you for the opportunity to collaborate with you guys on two amazing Forbes articles. The first one being your recent acquisition by SuperOrdinary, and the second one, my favorite and the best article I ever could have written for Forbes, a deep dive on Cameron Dallas's life. So let's get into it. I mean, I have so many questions for you guys stemming from that, as well as just what's going on in the creator economy. Where are you guys going to go with it? And most of all, what are you guys trying to accomplish with Fanfix post-acquisition? So, Harry, starting with you. I mean, talk to me about, working with Julian and SuperOrdinary as a whole.
I mean, it's been a dream, and to be honest, I think the most important thing to look for is a culture fit, and we have just exactly the same culture, and it feels like we're working with friends, so it's been just incredible.
Awesome. So, Simon, anything to add to that?
I think Harry covered it. We're having a great time building the team, recruiting some great talent, and continuing to expand our creator base and our creator offerings. And I think it's a very exciting time in the creator economy, and we're excited to see where it goes over the next few years and thereon.
Fantastic. And, speaking about the creator economy, with my latest article on you, Cameron, it was just an amazing opportunity to kind of dive in and just flesh out what I really think about it. And so you being the, creator, the expert in the room on just being a content creator, like, what do you think is going on in the creator economy right now that's like everyone should be paying attention to?
I think we should be paying attention to the entrepreneurs in the space, and giving them a shot. We have a bunch of creators that, started off on social media and now they're jumping into being entrepreneurs, and it's something that we should all celebrate.
Absolutely. And there's a couple of VCs, one in particular, it's Work Life VC, where they're thinking that instead of like typical tech founders like you two, it's really, creators such as yourself who are going to be the next breed of founder. What do you think about that?
I think it's an amazing time. I'm excited. We're ready. I mean, Harry's actually a content creator himself.
I am.
So I actually wouldn't exclude him as a content creator. So we're kind of one of the few people that have done that.
True.
What kind of content are you creating?
You don't want to know.
I do want to know.
Have you, like the Sway Boys?
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
No way.
Yeah, just dancing and.
So you're
an amazing dancer.
We have like a proto Bryce Hall over here.
Well,
or something
I
like
sing
that?
as well, but mostly dance.
Show us the dance.
I mean, which one? You got to name a dance.
Can you hit the gritty?
Fanfix.
Oh, hit the gritty.
that one, right?
No.
Can you hit the gritty?
No. I mean, if you got me drunk enough, like maybe, but
Hey, liquid courage. We like that.
Courage.
that's all you need sometimes. So, guys, I mean, with the creator economy, here's what I'm thinking. And I kind of explained this in my piece on Cameron. I think a lot of people, when they think about the creator economy, it's really focused around like ownership and really in a digital sense, like NFTs, for instance. I think that NFTs are like a great start, but really when you look at like really successful entrepreneurs, who were musicians, artists, such like that, they started a brand that was bigger than themselves, like, Rihanna and Savage by Fenty, or, Kanye West and Yeezy. So for me, it's kind of like, why is there such an emphasis on, owning things digitally versus like taking your popularity and turning that into a brand that sells physical goods that you can turn into $1 billion empire like the people I just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, on my end, I think it's pretty clear. If you look in Forbes, which you write for, if you look at the wealthiest people that are celebrities or creators, they've all, they're not wealthy from AdSense, they're not wealthy from creator funds, they're wealthy from creating brands that are much bigger than themselves, like Fenty, like Yeezy, like Skims, etc.
Yep.
And TikTok democratized celebrity, and no one knows. I mean, creators have only been around for 10, 15 years at this point. No one knows where it's going to go, and so so important to build something as a creator that's going to outlive you.
Right, absolutely. And this kind of goes back to like my initial conception of Fanfix. When you guys were describing it to me, you guys really focused in on discovery versus monetization. And before that, I've covered a couple of other social media startups or startups in this particular
Monetization versus discovery.
Sorry, monetization versus discovery. Thank you. So, I always felt that, you could have both, given, you see YouTube, Instagram, they have their ad revenue models and such like that. But after talking with you guys, covering you guys, and seeing how you guys lay out the distinction, do you think that more creator economy startups need to help focus more on monetization, or is there still opportunity for discovery as well, similar to how TikTok came out of nowhere to disrupt?
I think we're starting to see a shift with all the major platforms leaning more into discovery. If you think about the inner ring of the social layer, close friends and family, you used to have Snapchat, which the camera opened inwards. All you could do was take a photo or video and send it to your friends.
Right.
And then they launched messaging through Snapchat. And now Snapchat has leaned, really into discovery with their explore page and so forth. And you're starting to see that with platforms like Discord, which started as a group chat between friends or gamers. And now you open up Discord, you don't know a single person on your Discord, and it's overwhelming. And that's where you're starting to see new platforms rise up and really target that close friends and family circle in Be Real, for example, where it's a shift back to authenticity, a shift back to, following your close friends and family on the platform.
Right.
And the way we look at why creators join new platforms, we break it down into 3 different tiers. One is monetization.
Yep.
How do I get paid on this platform? Is it a revenue stream for me? The second is community, or as we like to say, clout. Which one of my friends are a part of this community? Who else is on the platform? And the third is discovery. So with Fanfix, we really lean in on those first 2 pillars, being monetization, building out new revenue streams for creators, and second, making it a cool community to be a part of, where these Gen Z creators see their other friends on the platform and want to join Fanfix as well. When you look at TikTok and now Instagram or even YouTube with their shorts, they're really focusing on discovery. How can I help creators grow my following? And you're starting to see these platforms target monetization as well, with YouTube Shorts announcing their new ad split for 2023. And Instagram is lacking in all of those categories.
Right.
And we heard last week or 2 weeks ago, Adam Mossier, the CEO of Instagram, make it very clear that they weren't doing enough. So I think it all comes back to monetization, community, and discovery.
Yeah, I think if you look at like in the 20th century, in the 90s, you want to get famous, right? Okay, so you want to be a musician, well, you got to get a great agent, and then you got to get a record deal with a label, and you're reliant on the institutions. Same thing, you want to be an actor, right? You got to go to WME or CAA and get a top agent, and then they got to get you a deal with a top studio, and it's, you're completely reliant on the institutions, and then you get the distribution. Now, you don't have to rely on anyone to get the distribution. You pull out your phone, you post a video right here and wake up with millions of followers. So I think that was
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. Maybe for me with my dances, but that was incredible. But I think that's kind of, everyone's realizing now, well, that was awesome, but it's all well and good having 3 million followers,
right,
if you're making 2.5 cents per 1,000 views and it's not paying the rent. So the big thing now that we're focused on, and I think the creator economy in general is focused on, is how do we make creators money, and how do we make being a creator a sustainable and viable career path.
Right. And to speak to that even more, I usually see when people are suggesting that, the creator economy is viable, you have, creators who've already been around for a really long time making millions of dollars. That's great. But how can you get the average person or someone who's just new and starting out, giving them a path to, having a sustainable income, sustainable career, creating content on the internet? And going back to what you were saying, Simon, about, other larger platforms such as Instagram, really getting a sense of like where is the pendulum, swinging, and trying to create tools and content around that. I want to get Cameron's perspective as a content creator, right? Especially on Instagram.
Oh, no.
IG's been just copying everyone, right?
Yeah,
And
they're
so it's like,
notorious for it.
so yes.
Their new Be Real feature.
Bro, they're just always late.
Thank you.
They're just late to the game, bro.
A new fan, they tried it with us.
They
Subscription.
took away the opportunity to get to grow on there,
Right.
And they took it away years ago, and they're paying the price for that now. And they're already behind on like adding these random features that Snap brings or whatever, and it's just like, bro, you guys suck.
Instagram
honestly,
sucks.
like-
You heard it here.
Yeah.
It's just like they don't really do a good job at listening to creators. I told them in like 2014, 15 that this was gonna happen, and this was at the Facebook headquarters, and they were like, "Oh yeah, whatever." They wrote me off. Cool, but
But I mean,
here we are.
You weren't the
and
only one saying that, though, right?
I don't think I was the only one saying it. I don't think I was the only one thinking it, but I definitely told them specifically to their faces like that this was gonna happen. But is what it is. Like, you can't just keep copying people and expect people to be okay with it and take away the discovery factor of why people even got on Instagram.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something that TikTok implements really well. Is like anyone can join, they can blow up, they can do their thing, and they can now monetize it and make money on there. Like, why does anyone want to be on Instagram? Their likes are down, the engagement's down. Who wants to post on there anymore?
And what's crazy is the engagement on Instagram Reels. How low that engagement really is,
Right.
compared to TikTok and so forth.
I think it's a third of reels have been just reposted from TikTok. Right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
no one's creating original, content for Instagram anymore. A lot of that's coming from long form video that's being cut down into Instagram posts, into TikToks, and so forth. I think that's why podcasts have been so successful. Is because you could edit it for any platform and
Right.
create content from a single podcast. You could turn that into 20 TikToks, 5 Instagram posts, and so forth.
But the creator economy should never have existed in the first place. It only exists because the massive platforms completely failed. They completely failed and they treated creators like shit. So we had a call today with a creator with 9 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he's telling us how he was discussing Instagram subscriptions, and he's pitching his product it is for what they should do, and they're shooting him down. They're telling him it's not on the timeline. We never say no. If a creator wants something, we just go and build it.
If it makes sense.
Obviously.
We've got some
Obviously.
outrageous requests that wouldn't make sense for all creators, but we like to hear what creators are thinking. It's we built our team around creators. Cameron, Kai Watson from the Sync podcast, the Sync Up, and we love to get feedback from the creators we work with, whether that's creators who are just starting out on Fanfix or creators who have been on since day one.
Right.
But it's like this isn't B2B SaaS. We're not the people who know what they want to see in the products are the creators. So you got to build the business around what they want to see
And how they want to interact with their fans.
Right. And so that's the thing, how have you guys, really listened to your creators to create the opportunities for creators, not only just to interact with their fans, but going back to what you guys were saying earlier, like build community. I think for a lot of the more massive platforms, it's all about how many people can you get into your corner versus like, how can I get my content to the right people who are interested in being a part of my community?
Yeah. And I think we're seeing, especially now, creators grow their following on TikTok, but that's not where they engage their community. That's not where they're monetizing. It's really how they're able to pull that following from TikTok onto new platforms, whether that's into a Discord community or converting on long form content on YouTube or onto Fanfix, whatever it may be. They're growing on TikTok, and then they have to pull that community elsewhere.
They are monetizing, by the way, on TikTok.
They are.
It's
They
just
are.
here
but
and there.
It's
right
2.5
now.
cents.
2.5 cents per 1,000 views, and
Well, you gotta
they're
add in
getting
brand
they're getting
deals,
brand
things like
deals
that.
because that's where the brand awareness comes from.
Right.
But straight conversions is not happening on TikTok.
Right. And so that's the thing, with the ad revenue that they're bringing in, the brand deals, but all those, those things I just mentioned, they're not, recurring. They're not reliable revenue, right? So where you guys come in, with the subscriptions is an innovation in that area. And, I'll be honest with you guys, I was skeptical and, in the first sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would Gen Z pay for content?
Why would Gen
when
Z
they
pay
could
for
just
content?
when they could just buy all these Fortnite skins or spend thousands of dollars on FIFA Ultimate Team or Madden Mobile?
Yes.
They're willing to pay, especially for entertainment, for content, whatever it may be. The rise of the streaming platforms, we're seeing it, every day now.
Yep. Yep.
Brand deals. 77% of creator monetization is from brand deals. They're awesome, but they're ads, and they significantly underserve a massive majority of creators. That you talked about it earlier. The creators who kind of are just the regular people with followers. We call them long tail creators. And brand deals,
not because they have tails.
Exactly.
Thanks for clarifying.
Absolutely. Brand deals just they completely underserve them. And then on top of that, fans hate seeing brand deals, and creators really don't like doing them. They're doing them just to get paid. And so Fanfix has kind of created an alternative where you can, rather than having to rely on some brand's massive marketing budget, you only have to rely on yourself and your fans, and it's direct monetization.
And it converts way better.
Converts better. And what happens when the market takes a tumble and, all these big brands tighten their marketing budgets, their influencer spend?
That's first on the chopping block.
First on the chopping block.
We get calls every day from managers who didn't want their clients on Fanfix 6 months ago, and they're telling us that these deals are drying up and they need it now.
But with being on Fanfix, you avoid all of that because you have a direct relationship to your fans. The incentives are clearly aligned. And most importantly, I look at it, so there's discovery. So like you said, monetization versus discovery, but moving beyond that binary, now with someone who's successful on Fanfix, they have hundreds and thousands of subscribers paying, X dollars a month. Now you move into an area where you can build ownership. Let's say instead of doing a brand deal for, say, the Gap, instead you create your own clothing line. Hopefully it's not like super gaudy like every other YouTuber's merch or whatever, but something that people would actually want to wear and ask like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's, soda by soda.
Soda by soda.
That's right. That's
not trademarked. It's got to be. You got to hop on that.
Exactly. I'm filing the copyright as we speak. Don't worry about that, gentlemen. I'll give you guys free merch as well.
Hey.
But getting back on track here with my original point, how can Fanfix usher in, this third stage that I kind of envisioned in the piece I wrote earlier of ownership?
Yeah. So I think, right off the bat, a lot of people talk about Web3 and trying to bring, social tokens or NFT token gated communities to creators. Yeah. We haven't seen that become successful so far. As of now, I would say a lot of creators are very cautious when dealing with crypto, Web3, NFT, social tokens, whatever it may be. But on Fanfix, we bring that same perspective to our platform. So creators actually own the communities. They have access to all the data, all of their subscribers, all their email lists. If they're doing a merch drop and they want to retarget all their most loyal subscribers, they own that data, and it's easily accessible to them. When you look at platforms like Instagram, you can't find that anywhere. If you're a creator and you want to find, the phone numbers or emails of your followers, where are you going to get that?
I mean, you can't even reach all of them anymore.
You can't even reach them.
Absolutely. So
stupid.
How frustrating was that for you? Like, let's go back to pre 2014 when you still could, or you could still reach a majority of them. When they made the algorithm change, they switched that off. How frustrating was that for you as a creator?
You stopped posting.
It put more pressure on the influencers because they have to post more now and they have to provide more content. And if you talk to any influencer, content is king, but it's also very stressful for them. So it wasn't the best case scenario.
Right.
Not to mention, we're now seeing creators who want to reach their full audience, as Cam said, actually paying to do so. Whoa. We're seeing creators boosting their content, putting ads behind their own content in order to grow and reach new audiences, which, the platform is charging the creators in order to get discovered.
And Meta kind of did that with Facebook. So, when they bought Instagram, it was kind of like a given. Like, I was already, like, mentally prepared for that. But it's just, like, why?
I mean, when it still hits, it's just kind of,
And The other thing, too, is, like, Instagram's where I started. So I kind of feel like I have a relationship with them. And it's, like, I'm giving them advice based off of what I've seen and just being on other platforms and stuff. And it's, like, I'm trying to help the platform. And they're just looking at me like a creator, giving them some, like, random advice. They don't care. And like I said, look where they are now. Like, no one likes Instagram. They had a big fucking, they were like protesting against it and things like that. It's like, they need to bring the activation back. They're like really struggling right now.
And I think we saw over the last few months, what was very interesting is the creator protests actually made an impact into Instagram's decisions. It only took the Kardashians to post that. I forget exactly what it was, but it was...
Make Instagram again.
Make Instagram again. And
so they got that hashtag trending.
Yeah,
so crazy.
Billion off their market cap.
Yeah, we saw all the top celebrities, creators posting about it, and Instagram took a step back. They actually reverted course because there was protest amongst all the creators. It only took the Kardashians to make a difference.
Look at you guys. You're a small team now. You have a growing user base. How do you prevent scale from working against you to where you grow so big that just not out of not intentionally, but you are not as close to the ground with with emerging content creators as the platforms that we're talking about right now of soon to be yesteryear.
Yeah, I mean, we're already facing that issue, and it just comes down to one word, which is culture. It used to be Simon, myself, and Cam doing everything from onboarding creators to managing their accounts to working with Stripe to fix issues with their accounts to moderating the content to making the deals, everything. Now, unfortunately, we got 8.2 million users. It's a bit difficult to be on 8.2 million calls a day. So
not that unfortunate.
Yeah. However,
it's a good problem to have.
Exactly.
Cam gets blown up way more than that.
Yeah. But we set our culture from the start, and we set our values, which are primarily creator first. And so every single member of our team knows how to take a phone call exactly how we would have done it in the early days. And I think that's how you do it.
Love it. And I mean, that's the thing. If you put the foundation right with culture, it can also scale, right?
Totally.
So, and that's the thing when it comes, getting back to this topic of scale, I think the most important thing for any sort of social media platform or, tech company in the space is their ability to, build a culture that scales, but even more importantly, like still cultivate a sense of innovation, right? You see a lot of the larger platforms, Meta, Instagram being, our favorite culprits of just copying, the latest startup that comes out with some sort of new feature. How do you prevent yourselves from being copycats and still being at the cutting edge of innovation?
I think it comes back to listening to our creators. We speak with creators on the platform every single day, and creators give us new feature ideas, product suggestions, new ways to interact with their fans. So it's really listening to our customers and our clients, which are creators and their users. And I think that's what differentiates us from all the other platforms is we are on the ground floor of the creator economy. We work with primarily Gen Z creators. Our team is primarily Gen Z themselves. Right. So we really could connect with creators to a whole new level. And that innovation comes from either phone calls, Zoom calls, or bringing creators into our office and walking through the product, asking them what they want to see going forward. So it all comes down to the creators.
Yeah. And on my end, I'm going to give a very unsatisfying answer here because it's a complete... I think there's, a big dichotomy here. On the one hand, you should be creator first with everything you do and listen to the creators with everything you do.
Right.
However, on the other hand, I think Snapchat is a great example. Evan Spiegel is an unbelievable product guy, and he, saw ahead and kind of saw through saw much further ahead than a lot of his users did. I remember absolute massive pushback when they moved stories to, you know, the other side of the feed. They separated stories from.
I remember that.
I mean, it got massive backlash. You know, everyone hated Snapchat. Fast forward, that was game changing for their business, and their entire revenue stream now is from those, you know, those ads, etc., which are on that side.
Yep.
So it's quite unsatisfying, but you know, sometimes you just got to have a very good product guy.
And what did Instagram do about that?
I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is also
Probably
an incredible
copied them.
product guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Copy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I've talked a lot about the company, but I want to make things personal now. You know, Cam.
Oh no! Oh no!
Look at these two. These two are getting close over here.
This is my guy.
They're not co-founders or co-lovers over here.
Exactly.
You're kind of a third wheel. That sucks.
I'm the guy in the corner just peeking.
You should have sat next to me over
Yeah,
here.
honestly.
Yeah,
Honestly.
slide over. Harry.
You know,
Let us get the couch.
I will say, like, just switching topic, like, just complete non sequitur here. Like, it's not that bad to be a third wheel on a date. Like,
No.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just it's
I
so.
don't know.
You're
I disagree
usually-
there.
you're
Why do you disagree? Talk
I
to me.
disagree. I just don't, it's not that fun. Yeah, I mean, you gotta just sit there and you can tell they don't want you there. That's the.
I always
Who's
want you
inviting you on a
there.
third date if they don't?
I always want you there.
I don't know. It's like when me and Cam go for dinner with Simon, and he's just sitting.
I always
there.
get a free meal. I love it.
There you go.
I love it. Harry's always the one who pays.
always.
What a gentleman. But Cam, I mean, when I was writing that story on you, like the way that, look, maybe some people will criticize me for this, but you know, I really was pretty heavy on like the Christian imagery, if you will, and it wasn't my intention right from the beginning. But I'm so glad that I stuck with that, because you're kind of like, for the purposes of the story, to be very clear here, you were kind of like a Christ-like figure. Like what you went through with, you know, your addictions, you know, the arrest, but you recognize within yourself, like, hey, life can be so much better if I can turn my life around. Right. And, you know, and to get to the question here, you know, what was that moment like when you're at home, your sister just had Capri, right? Mm-hmm. What was it like looking at her, and how was that a turning point for you?
Family is very important to me. So I think, you know, seeing families grow up with people that have addiction in it and seeing how that affects the intricacies of the family dynamics, it's really important to pay close attention to it. And, you know, for me to bring a new life into the family, I didn't want to be like that uncle that didn't have a relationship with his niece, and the family didn't want around because he's so sporadic and he might be drunk or whatever, this and that.
Right.
And, I mean, it wasn't my kid, but I'm very close to my sister and my niece, Capri. And I think for me, I wanted to put my best self forward, not only for myself, but for my family as well. And especially, it's kind of like people say, like, when you have a kid or something like that. I mean, I didn't have the kid, but that's like a new life, right? And you want to really make sure that you're teaching them the right things and you're a good example. And that kind of inspired me to, you know, be the best version of myself. And although it was, you know, my sister having Capri was kind of like a gateway for me to look at myself and be like, yo, like, you need to become more responsible. You need to be like the best version you can.
Right.
It was the best thing that could have happened to me.
That's beautiful. And, you know, it's just so touching, because Capri was effectively a mirror for you, you know, where, you know, looking at her caused you to look inward at yourself and it's like, is this really where I want to go with my life? Is this really the type of person that I want to become for my niece? And, you know, for you to, again, kudos to you. As much as, you know, I feel great about writing that story, I wouldn't have been able to do that without such a strong person like you having the courage to turn your life around. So
yeah, thank you. No, I really appreciate it. And I'm very open. I mean, you know me, I'm an open book with stuff like that. So
yeah,
I try to preach it to anyone I can if they're ever interested, you know. Obviously, I don't want to go around like just telling people and being like that guy, but if they are curious, I will talk about it.
Takes a lot of strength to do that, a lot of strength. And so for you guys, you two, you know, Harry, you told me about the conversation at the Tower Bar.
When we first met?
Yeah, when you guys first met.
Yeah.
You know,
Now look at us.
Yeah.
walk me through it. Take me down memory lane, gentlemen. What was going on there?
Yeah, I mean, so we say we launched Fanfix in August. We actually launched it in June, but Sam and I were the only customers for the first 2 months, and you know,
Racked up a bill.
Our parents weren't too happy, but we realized pretty quickly that you know, I mean, things weren't working. You know, we didn't have any users. We didn't have any access to creators. We couldn't raise money. And we figured that we were at a crossroads, you know, kind of do we double down on the tech and go down that route or try and build the business around access to creators?
Yeah.
And around the same time, you know, I think we got incredibly lucky and got introduced to Cam, and we realized, wow, you know, what do, you know, we were two college students, you know, two schmucks. What do we know about the creator economy? What do we know about building a business for creators? I got, you know, 1,000 followers on Instagram. I'm private. The whole thing about me being a creator is a joke. Simon's also private.
He tried once.
Yeah, exactly. We post like twice a year. So we needed a creator to, you know, back the business, to build the business around, and to not only provide that access, but, you know, provide the insight of being a creator and
The clout.
yeah, the clout. And it was just so, I mean, it was just so perfect. We had an unbelievable conversation, and it just so happened that, you know, Cam was at a time in his life where he, you know, was trying to kind of get out of being a full-time content creator and more into the business world. Right. And he was one of the very few creators who had an unbelievable business mind, as well as, you know, obviously having 10 years of insight. And so it was just a match made of heaven, and we had an incredible lunch where we were just spewing ideas, and it was flowing, and I think, yeah, we knew pretty early on it was a fit.
So before you jump in, so basically what you guys are telling me is it was love at first sight.
Love at first sight.
I mean, I think the
Love at
main
first
thing
sight.
is like when you work with someone, making sure that relationship, like you could see that relationship furthering, and I know it's very important to them. So like, I mean, we got along right off the bat. Like these guys are absolutely hilarious and genius. So, and I think there was a big wide open market for what they were trying to build. So when they brought it to me, I was like, one, the market's open. Like, this is a genius idea. Two, the branding's absolutely amazing. But most importantly, three, like, I genuinely get along with them, and I could see us like furthering this company together. So.
Absolutely.
And what's funny is the first time we met Cam, you know, we were trying to recruit him to be a creator on the platform. And
I want to know the sales pitch. You got to give it to me.
We're closers.
we're closers.
I put my closing shoes on.
There you go. Okay, that's what I like to hear.
Well, the plan was actually
I gave him the Harry Gestetner wink, and it was over.
The plan was actually to get Cam drinking and having a good time, but we learned right away that was not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think, did you order like a
They
chocolate
wanted me to
milk
join
or
the-
something?
That's actually true.
You ordered a chocolate milk.
I got a
did
double
not do our
espresso.
research very
Double
well.
espresso.
We were going to get some mimosas. We did not do our research very well.
Yeah, I remember we were actually there a bit earlier than Cam was. We got there 4 or 5 minutes before Cam did, and we were going to get, you know, some champagne to the table or order some drinks. And
A whole bottle service over here, huh?
We also, by the way, we called Simon's mum, who was an agent at CA, when we were picking the spot. We were like, what's a nice bar that we can go to with a creator?
Great recommendation, by the way. Love this on
We had no idea where to take him.
I've never been, so I will have to go sometime shortly after
place.
this.
Yeah.
But back to you, Cam. So they were just trying to wine and dine you, right? But you came in with a different mindset. Did you intentionally play hard to get, or was it just kind of
played
like
hard to get?
He always plays hard to get.
I don't think I played hard to get.
You know?
This is like, bro, it was a great idea. I was like, I was ready to rock.
You're ready to rock, and
Yeah.
here we are now. What's the most important thing that Cam's taught you guys? that you didn't know before?
I think that you can't be rigid in your approach. You have to be, flexible and unorthodox.
Right.
And if you took the approach with building a business for creators and building in this industry, and you were rigid and kind of ran it like you were a banker or a lawyer, I think you would fail. It's, creators, there's a lot of relationship driven stuff that you can't account for.
Politics.
But there's a lot of politics, and Cam's incredible at dealing with that. Things aren't as simple as, here's a check and I'm going to deliver X, you're going to deliver Y in return. It's not that simple.
Right. And Simon, I remember when I first met you, and I was asking you like, hey, how's it like working with Cam? You called him the politician, and that's just always stuck in my mind when I'm thinking of you.
Bro, I'm running Peaky Blinders in real life.
That's right.
Minus the gangster stuff.
You're pretty gangster.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Or that's the stuff that we can't talk about on the podcast.
One thing I did think was cool though is, and it's kind of playing off that, is like a lot of times when we'd be having conversations, I would go into like what I would be saying is from like a creator's aspect. So like we would just be going back and forth, and if we had disagreed on something, I would have to tell them like, yo, this is from like a creator standpoint, and I'm giving you exactly what they would be thinking right now. And they did a good job at like internalizing that and changing their approach and just nailing it.
And I think just adding on to that, creators are people at the end of the day. There are a lot of companies out there who speak to them as if they're not normal people, as if, they're aliens of some sort,
right?
Did you say piece of meat?
Yeah.
I didn't say that. That's from Cameron Dallas.
Oh, people talk to creators like they're a piece of meat.
Cameron Dallas calls creators piece of meat.
No, I said people treat them like a piece of meat.
Yeah.
Expand on that. Like, why do you think that's the case? Is it just like they don't really see you as a person, that has more to offer? They just
want access to your audience. They want access to the people you're selling stuff to or not selling yourself to, right? They want access to the audience that's going to buy their product. They don't give a fuck. Majority of brands and people, agents, managers, they don't give a fuck. They just want to make money. And that's can't really be all about that.
That's, I think, where Fanfix comes in as well is, typically with a brand deal, creators get paid a fixed price to post very inauthentic posts about a brand, driving their audience to buy that product, or the lack thereof. With Fanfix, creators are promoting themselves, their own content, their own communities, and they're driving that ROI directly back to themselves, where, that could renew month after month. So really highlighting the creator, putting the creator first, and having them drive that ROI directly back to the creator.
Right.
Also,
go ahead.
Okay, yes. And I think that one of the most game-changing things, the most game-changing thing we did with the business was bringing Cam, but one of the most game-changing things we did was, a lot of our day is spent with creators, and we're constantly having creators from our platform in the office and spending time with them, also socially on weekends and stuff, and going to the events. In the tech world, Sam and I have spent a good amount of time now in kind of the startup ecosystem in the tech world, and we see all these companies who talk about creators like they're aliens, and they talk about these creators, what creators want to see, and what creators will do. Same with VCs. They've never spoken to a creator. The amount of VCs, it was so frustrating. The amount of VCs who would ask us questions about, startups we never heard of, or things about, Facebook and patrons. And it was so frustrating because we knew from spending all this time with creators and managers that they were asking the most stupid questions, and they did not have an understanding of the space. But they try and tell us how creators think, as if they know better than creators. So I think you kind of got to know you have one mouth and two ears in the space. If you're not a creator like Simon and myself, and be kind of humble in the fact that you have no idea what creators want and how they think.
Right. So being willing to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, start from a blank slate and build up from there. Look, I hope I wasn't asking stupid questions when I was getting to know you guys.
No.
Okay.
Soda Pop had all the best questions.
Soda pop. I'll take that. I'll take that, Simon. Thank you. But I think one of the big things, actually, I want to summarize your point here, Simon, which is really, and this is building off of what Cam said about, everyone else in the ecosystem, managers, brands, whatnot, treating creators like me. I think what it is that, these people don't look at creators as a end in themselves, but rather a means to end, versus Fanfix, which is like, no, the creator is the end. And if we focus on them, we can deliver them a much greater value in connecting with their fans and building a relationship with their fans. So stemming from that, how do you change the culture around the creator economy in terms of like just taking content creators more seriously? Is it really just a matter of, well, we can make you more money, or is there a deeper shift that has to, occur for content creators to really be able to take off and do their own thing?
Yeah. So I think if you look at, we had this conversation a while ago, but just to repeat, celebrity versus creator, they're kind of seen as different things.
Yeah.
And I have this, so my roommate, comes from a big Hollywood family, and he thinks TikTok is the most stupid thing in the world. He thinks TikTokers are so stupid. And I have this argument with him constantly, but what I'm trying to say is two things. Number one, if you speak to a random 13-year-old in, wherever, you ask them, who would you rather meet? Charlie D'Amelio / Addison Rae, or Leonardo DiCaprio or Timothy Chalamet? Slam dunk, they're going to say the former. They're going to want to meet the TikTokers.
Absolutely.
Right? And then on top of that, if you look at, I don't have data to support this, but this is my theory. If you look at Gen Z, which are now the largest consumers in the US, if you look at the amount of time a day they're spending on TikTok or social media versus watching TV or watching a movie,
Yeah.
they are 100% spending more time on social media. Personally, I'm 22 years old. I'm on that upper cusp of Gen Z. I spend more time on TikTok a day than I do watching TV or movies. So what does this mean? This means that social media is the future of the entertainment industry. So, currently creators are kind of seen as a lower class than like movie stars or musicians.
Yep.
But I really think that's going to change and shift, and there'll be a massive paradigm shift. And yeah, I think the power is going to go back to the creator.
It's going to take time. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. The answer is time.
Totally.
I agree with what you're saying is true. Why do content creators still want to try and break into Hollywood then? Why don't they try and just stay digital?
Because as of now, that's where the money is. I think we're starting to see a shift where you look at Squid Games, for example.
Okay.
You look at Squid Games on Netflix, how much money they poured into Squid Games. It took years to produce and put out, and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. And then you look on the other hand, you look at Mr. Beast.
Right.
And how he did Squid Games.
In a week.
In 1 week, Mr. Beast got more views on his video than Netflix did on Squid Games.
Insane.
Crazy.
I look at Mr. Beast. I'm so glad you guys brought him up. I look at him. He's like, genius, visionary. He's really his own institution, honestly. And I think he's kind of the example that other content creators should hold themselves to if they want to stay digital and just go all the way with that. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
100%. And we're starting to see, Mr. Beast isn't alone. Mr. Beast has Night Media behind him. Night Ventures, a whole venture arm. Night Talent, a whole talent management arm behind him. He has, industry execs who are helping him launch his Beast Burgers and whatever it is, Feastables. And we're starting to see a shift there. You look at the D'Amelios. As of last week, they launched D'Amelio Brands, which was a company in order to launch brands and protect their own IP.
Yep.
You look at Kim Kardashian launching a private equity fund and being a creator, a celebrity herself.
Yep.
So we are starting to see that shift take place, but I think with time, that's the only way we're really going to get to the point where, creators are God and entertainment is pouring money behind creators and investors and the institutional money is standing behind creators.
So I'm so glad you mentioned, Mr. Beats, new VC fund, Night Ventures, that's launched up, because I saw an article in the New York Times recently where they're helping creators, pairing them with, like small but really fast growing businesses with like a great target market, and they're giving them equity. They're getting equity. So the reason why I'm stressing on that word equity is because going back,
Love equity.
We love equity. On this podcast, we're all about the equity. Forget a brand deal. We're only talking equity over here. But going back to you, Cam, I'm so glad you piped up here. When you were, part of MagCon, co-owner, right? I was watching the episode and you mentioned and you said, I wanted everyone to have equity. So you're already thinking of that. How can you help other creators like just get on the same page of like, stop focusing about just the money, focus on the equity?
I'm still working on that. It's really difficult to get them to understand that. But when you have great examples like Mr. Beast and you're having these, he has such a young audience.
Yeah.
And you have these people growing up and like hearing that all the time and seeing his business ventures and his entrepreneurship, like it really helps in the space, getting people to understand the importance of equity and owning what you're doing.
I think it goes into your earlier question as well. Why do creators, try and get into kind of Hollywood traditional entertainment industry? I personally think the creator economy is almost a purge of the entertainment industry. The entertainment industry was built in, the 20th century for the institutions, and it was built when there was no such thing as social media, and the monopoly of, people's free time was spent on TV and movies. Now, it's only over the past few years that has changed. And then we're at this weird time right now where as soon as you kind of get fame of any sort, you're trying to fit into like the old ways of traditionally you get famous, you used to be from the entertainment industry. So you try and fit into that kind of mold, but that mold doesn't fit anymore, and it's the wrong shape. And so I think what all these companies like Fanfix, and Fanfix being one of the leading companies that, trying to do is try and shape what the entertainment industry will be like in the future. So I think it's going to be very different.
So much. Oh my God. I don't know where to begin.
So much to unpack.
So much to unpack.
Come on,
here,
Soda Pop.
We're unpacking. We're digging over here. So
Let's do it.
Getting in deeper to what you're saying, Harry, because everything you touched upon there, gold. So we talked about time. We've talked about money. We've talked about, just the influence that these institutions within Hollywood just its own institution, right? But what I don't think we've touched upon is infrastructure. With these institutions, there was a whole lot of infrastructure, both on the technical and business side, to allow them to exist and perpetuate in time.
Yep.
I view Fanfix as the infrastructure for the creator economy. So with what you guys are building today, what needs to be built that you guys are, have yet to get to that can really make the creator economy like something viable for the long term?
So, creators need to be able to make money. That 75% of Gen Z wants to be a creator.
Yep.
And that's not going to happen unless it's actually a viable career path.
Yep.
To be a viable career path, you need to be able to make money, right?
Yes.
And the traditional, we've completely disrupted the traditional, the industry, because creators are realizing that they used to they have these managers, agents who are taking advantage of them. They're not taking equity in companies. They're looking very short term.
Yep.
And they go and join a platform like Fanfix. Suddenly they're making 6-7 figures a year just through their own audience posting themselves. They're like, why should I be cutting my agent in here? Why do I need an agent to do this? So,
why is he taking 20% from me? Forget that.
Yeah, and why is he taking 20%? Of course, it's crazy. So
Whoa, it's agents taking 10%, it's managers taking 20%.
And then your lawyer gets another 10%.
Your
and then
lawyer gets cut in,
yes,
or you're paying him for every deal you do.
Totally. And the creator's the one putting in the work here. So, we've disrupted how it was, but I think where we are striving to get to, and I think we're on the way to achieving that, is be the hub for creator monetization. You get the discovery, you blow up, and then you need to make money, you come to Fanfix.
Yeah, and it doesn't just stop with Fanfix. Fanfix is just a start.
Yeah.
With all the resources we have on the SuperOrdinary side of things, we'll be pushing out more creator products to help creators monetize, to help creators with brand deals, to help creators launch their own products, their own beauty lines or their own merch lines, whatever it is.
Right.
That's where we want to get to, and
Yep.
really build this hub for creator monetization across a variety of different verticals, from launching businesses and brands with creators, to facilitating collaborations with our portfolio of brands, to having creators monetizing on Fanfix or growing their audience on TikTok or Snapchat, whatever it is. We want to be that hub for monetization.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm just spitballing here. There's so much to take in, but I'm going to spitball here. Let's go
Cam,
on.
give him a beat.
I'm not
Freestyle,
spitting into
you
the
say
mic.
freestyle okay.
No freestyle?
No freestyle.
You should hear Simon freestyle, by the way.
That's
Crazy.
Next podcast.
next podcast.
Next
Okay.
one, next one.
We'll invite you back.
I'll dance and he'll freestyle.
Oh my God! And you're filming, right? We'll put this on the TikTok. Perfect.
But yeah, so we very rudely interrupts you there.
No.
Sorry, go on.
All good. So look, what I was thinking with respect to like helping creators build like standalone businesses based off of their initial popularity, but then the product. What I've always thought about like a no code solution where it's like you need to help a creator build a supply chain around like a product that they've conceptualized and stuff like that. You just drag and drop, and then boom, you have your supply chain. You're working with the best manufacturers, distributors for this particular product, and you're able to get them going 0 to 1, right? Something like that, I feel needs to be in this ecosystem, part of the infrastructure to allow what we're seeing with like celebrities and their big multi-million, multi-billion-dollar brands be more commonplace for the average everyday creator. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
that makes a lot of sense. And there are tools out there for creators to launch their own hats or their own T-shirts or whatever it is.
I mean, I want to be
quick merch
clear,
drops.
and I want to be clear here. Sorry to interrupt. I mean like going beyond just like simple white labeling,
Yeah.
like owning the full stack of your manufacturing, your operations, your distribution, all within the software.
Yeah, and that's something we're working towards. So with SuperOrdinary, that infrastructure is already built. We are a global brand accelerator and growth partner for marketplaces, creators, consumers everywhere. And that infrastructure needs to touch the creator economy. As of now, it has been laid for the next wave of beauty brands, cosmetic brands, and so forth. But we are excited to announce in the next few months that we will be launching the next wave of creator brands. We will be investing capital into these creators, investing infrastructure, whatever it is, because we see a future where you walk down the grocery store aisle and you see not just Chamberlain coffee, but you see a whole line of creator products.
Right.
Whether that's food, whether that's, coffee or utensils, whatever it may be. There in the near future, there will be creator products, creator brands will run wild.
So I'm gonna be eating like I'm gonna be eating my food with a Mr. Beast fork or something like
Yeah,
that.
you're already, Feastables.
You're gonna be eating your Cameron Dallas yogurt with your Cameron Dallas spoon.
It has to, and it's gonna have his face on it, right? Like every time
yeah.
I'm licking the spoon, I want to be like, licking your face, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great, perfect.
You could always just FaceTime me too if you ever feel like.
Well, I just got an iPhone, so
I know. Congrats.
thank you.
We'll actually respond to you now.
I'm done with
Guys,
that
I'm
green
finally
text.
included in the group chat, so I want everyone to know I'm not a green text message. I'm a blue one now. So
You're the one costing us money every text message.
I know. Well, thank you guys for allowing me to be part of the tribe. But yes to everything that you've said here, and I'm glad that you guys are working toward this. So for content creators, right? They're gonna see this. They're gonna say, "Oh my God, what's going on? Like, how can I be a part of this?" Cam, let's say that how would your career have changed if all of this was present when you started out on Instagram, or a little bit later when you got onto Vine?
I would have made a shit ton more money, that's for sure.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it wouldn't have been just money. I mean, equity, right? That would have been the name of the game for you,
Well,
right
money
there.
follows equity.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Yep. Fingers crossed.
Not all the time.
I want to dive in a little bit deeper in the sense of, how do you continue to innovate with respect to your own career now that you have this business acumen or you've already had this business acumen, you've been able to apply it, what other opportunities do you see within the creator economy? Maybe it doesn't have to come in the form of like you have to spin up a whole venture to do it, but what are some things that interest you that you want to pursue, as a creator or a founder?
I mean, I want to continue pursuing this and what we're building.
Right.
I just turned 28 not too long ago, so I'm not really keen on being a creator anymore.
Right.
I've done it for 11 years now. It's not something that really excites me.
Right.
So I think just continuing to build. I want to build businesses. I want to build brands. And my biggest thing is I want to help creators do all of that. And I want to do it with them.
Right. You being able to help creators, it's I love the initiative and the spirit. What do you think needs to be from like a cultural perspective, right? I kind of feel like creators, they if they're going to collab, it's only for mutual benefit. How do you build more of a collegiate, environment where, a creator can come up to you and be like, hey, how do I navigate this brand deal? Or, hey, this company's offering me equity. Like, how do you create those norms where they're more collaborating for the long term rather than like, hey, let's just go make some content for TikTok real quick?
Come to SuperOrdinary.
Yeah. I mean, just having those conversations, I think, like as you said earlier, helping these younger kids understand the importance of equity.
Yeah.
And the importance of being an entrepreneur in the space. Like, you really have to instill it in them and give them good examples. You have Mr. Beast, you have Emma Chamberlain, who's killing, you have Logan Paul. These are all great examples of people that they should follow. Right.
But I mean, so yes, I agree, but you can look to them, but these younger creators, they can't access them directly, right? In the ideal, like one-on-one mentorship. So, or do you disagree with that?
I mean, I try to make myself available for any creator that has any questions, and I try to help guide them to where they want to go, regardless. So that's one thing that I live by, and I hope and I would assume that other big creators do the same. I mean, I know Mr. Beast does a lot of things with working with people to help them better their business, and he helps like advise them and stuff like that, and it's free. He does it for free.
Right.
So like, great example, perfect example.
Okay, and I'm really glad you mentioned that, because like with you and Mr. Beast, I want there to be 1,000 more Mr. Beasts, 1,000 more Cameron Dallases, because what you're talking about, which is like starting to happen now, is very common in the tech community. Young, brand new founders can go and email someone at Dropbox. Like, I literally did that when I was in school. I emailed the founder of Dropbox. He's also MIT alum. He got back to me within 30 minutes. I was doing this. I just did it to see, like, is this guy actually going to respond? I asked him, like, hey, what are some good books? Like, what's your book list for business, to learn business? And he got back to me within 30 minutes. I was like, oh my God, Drew Houston, you're a god. Thank you.
But to bring it back, I think the playbook isn't yet written.
Yeah.
We're starting to see more and more case studies out there, like Cameron, like, what KSI and Logan Paul have done with Prime Energy, for example. Mr. Beast, we could have a whole separate podcast on him. But the playbook is still being written. And I think we're seeing this trend to more business-minded creators.
Right.
Creators who want to build businesses around their brands and have a stake in that business's success.
Right.
And we're also starting to see creators joining LinkedIn. We got Cam on LinkedIn. Brooke Monk is on.
it.
Brooke Monk crushes it on LinkedIn. You're looking at, Gary Vee has been on there forever.
Yeah, he's a standout.
Yeah, I think Gary Vee has done a lot for creators in terms of paving, not paving, but openly building for everyone to see, like building in the public and documenting every step of the way.
Right.
He's also someone that constantly reaches out to artists, creators, things like that, just being like, hey, what's up, what's going on, like, how can I help? So he's another person that gives advice out freely.
Right.
And I even think Forbes has done just over the last few weeks the creator summits, bringing a lot of the top creators together to talk and discuss businesses and how to grow their brand.
Yep.
I think there needs to be a lot more of that. And I would love to see the large social media platforms putting more of an effort into educating creators on how to use the platforms that they've built to build businesses and brands around themselves.
And on top of that, creators are entrepreneurs, sure, but they're also businesses in themselves. And as a creator, we're a business, Fanfix, and we have to, constantly get grilled on every single, and have holes poked in every single aspect of our business and of our idea, whether that's VCs or or whoever it is. And then, second of all, we're constantly thinking about how do we diversify, how do we build a moat, against our competition, and how do we make sure that Fanfix is still a brand in 10 years.
Right.
And then third of all, we're forecasting out, not just next month, not just next year, but the next 2, 3, 5 years. And creators aren't doing that. The managers and agents are certainly not doing that for their creators. They're thinking about here and now, and what is the most amount of money I could possibly extract from a brand for my creator right now, so I get 20% of that and get a paycheck. And I think they got to start thinking long term and think of themselves like businesses, not just people.
Right. I like to talk with creators who think of themselves as CEOs. Mm-hmm. You think of yourself as a CEO just from the way that you express yourself and the language that you use. Equity being the foremost example. To build off of just everything that you guys have said, I do think that infrastructure, going back to my point about infrastructure, like, of course, there's a technical in the business, but I think there's cultural infrastructure that's missing, like similar in the tech community where founders can reach out to virtually any founder, right? That's a norm that doesn't exist for creators yet, despite the great examples that you've given me, Cam, as well as
through the DMs.
Yeah, but they're not.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. If you're a creator with 200,000 followers and you DM Jake Paul, he's not getting back to you. You DM Logan Paul, he's not getting back to you.
Maybe.
No.
I mean,
well, you emailed the dude from Dropbox, right?
Yeah.
And he got back to you because, do you think you going to the same school as him played a part in it?
Hell yes.
Okay, so I think finding a way, if I'm going to DM Jake Paul, finding a way to stand out, it's like, come on.
No. I completely agree with that. I'm so glad you just framed it that way, because here's like the craziest idea I've had for the longest time. I think the cultural infrastructure I'm talking about is like, what if there was like a Y Combinator, but for creators?
An incubator?
I think that's an incubator specifically for creators. I think that's what's missing.
Totally.
I think something like that has been done before. I mean, Cam, I think you could probably attest to this. You've worked with so many social media platforms, especially Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. Haven't they done maybe not like boot camps, but more of like trying to cultivate community among creators?
I would say MadCon was probably the first creator incubator that was out there, where the creators in MadCon, and Cam, you could speak more to this, they were able to grow their followings to a whole new level because of MadCon and how MadCon was built around the creators and the fans. And I think we have seen a lot of this with the content houses. But it's just a start, and they didn't do it correctly.
I mean, even before that, you had, what was that group that JC, Kalen, Kian Lawley, Ricky Dillon, do you guys remember them?
I don't know who any of those people are.
Oh, they were one of the first people to put a group together, and one of the things that differentiated MadCon was like we turned it into an actual business, but they were one of the first ones to do like a group and really incubate each other. Sam Podorf, those kids. Like I took big inspiration from those guys as well. But they just the only thing that MagCon brought to the table was like on the business side is infrastructure, right?
Right.
And like making it a brand. And then you have Jake Paul who went and did
Team 10.
Team 10.
Yeah.
And he's just a crazy entrepreneur, super genius. And he, like the same thing, he put the business infrastructure in and like really turned it into something.
Yep. And I think, what does YC do? YC gives you money, and then they kind of basically teach you what to do with that money and how to turn that into much more money. So we've done a very good job with step one, which is we are very good at making creators money and making being a creator a viable career path.
Yep.
We have not mastered step two yet, which is, kind of once they have that money, where do they go from there? And we're trying to do that. We do it in a non-scalable way currently, in that, we have, like, Cam spends a lot of time kind of talking to creators on the platform. Where I remember we had a call with a creator, Rachel Brockman, who's on our platform, and Cam was talking to her about Fanfix for about 20 minutes, and then spend the next 40 minutes talking about how she can kind of generally build her career and etc.
Right.
So we do that, and then creators will come to us when they want to launch a product, or if they want to start a podcast, and we'll help them do that, connect them to the right people, if they'll come to us when their accounts get banned, and we'll introduce them to our contacts at Snapchat, Instagram, etc.
Right.
But that's not scalable, and to be totally honest, we haven't mastered that step two yet. So that's definitely to come.
And I think a lot of this falls on managers and agents and how they are guiding the creators that they're working with. So we have our own talent management firm called SuperOrdinary Talent, and we manage creators exclusively and non-exclusively. And the head of SuperOrdinary Talent is Victoria Daniels. And Victoria, we have seen her interact with a lot of the creators on Fanfix and new creators that she is signing. And the first time she meets a creator, she tells them to bring a notebook and to jot down their short-term goals and their long-term goals and their dreams, what they aspire to be.
Yes.
And she focuses on how can we get you to your aspirations.
Right.
How do we get you to achieve your goals, and what is the pathway to do so?
Right.
So I think there are a lot of managers out there and a lot of agents out there who are in it for the quick check, extracting money from brands, not worrying about equity, and just trying to get a payday. And that's fine, but it's not something that gets a creator from point A to point B.
It's not sustainable, mate.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
There we go. We got the Aussie accent coming out there. But yes, it is definitely not sustainable. And I can tell you guys from firsthand experience, dealing with a lot of creators as I'm choosing to write on them, their teams are not the type of, the individuals, and sorry if I'm throwing shade to anyone here, but they're not the individuals that can get them from their short-term goals to the long-term to the dream. There's no standard in this industry for who's a good manager, who's a good agent. How do you tell the difference between the two? How can you verify that? That doesn't exist. It also doesn't exist in the tech industry, to use it as a parallel, but there's informal back channels and such like that. But those are matured, they're well trusted if you're keyed into the right groups. For a new creator to the whole space, good luck.
And I think that's very interesting. Harry and I were very fortunate when we first started building Fanfix. We found brilliant advisors and mentors to help us and guide us throughout the process of founding a company and growing a startup.
Absolutely.
If you spoke to, you could speak to all these creators out there, almost none of them have mentors or advisors that they speak to on a regular basis who keep them, on their path. And sometimes that could be their agent or their manager. But with us, I know our advisors, got us to where we are today. And we built out that support system very early on. And I would love to see creators start to do the same.
I'm right there with you. I think it's not. They have to do this. If this creator economy is going to be something real, they have to do this.
Well, I think one of the issues is there's just so much bullshit in the space. It's you know, in the tech world, it is so clear cut. You know, if you're, you know, I want you to be an advisor to my company. Right. I'll give you advisory shares in my company. You know, it's vested over 4 years with a 1 year cliff, and so if it's not working, we cut ties, and you know, you in return for the shares owe me advisory hours. The relationship's clear. In you know the creator space, it's like, you know, they kind of come at the creators as if, you know, they don't necessarily want money from them. They're just trying to be their friend.
All buddy,
and they
buddy.
start hustling, and, you know, I can help you with this, I can help you with that, and it's just a lot. It's a lot kind of less clear cut. There's a lot more bullshit, and it's quite dodgy.
So
very dodgy.
Yeah, yeah.
So going back to our dinner at Shutters on the Beach, you know, I'm not going to name names here, but there was one particular individual we talked about that, Cam, you'd worked with before at, you know, who's affiliated with a major talent agency in town, who was exactly like what Harry was describing.
Shyster.
So many people.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
So
okay, it's fine.
So
because there's just so many of them.
Right. So I don't have to point out anyone specific. It's just they all fit the bill. They all fit the bill.
Most of them.
Yeah.
There were you know, other creators that when we first started out, who we were going to give them, you know, small percentage of equity instead of you know,
just a one-off deal or something.
Versus a one-off deal or a rev share agreement, whatever it was, and their managers didn't want the creators to have anything to do with equity, because the managers don't get cut in on the equity. The agents don't get cut in on the equity most of the time. They just get cut in. They take their 10%, their 20%, whatever it is, on the cash.
On the revenue.
On the upfront payments, whatever it may be. And this is across, you know, so many different types of deals. And the managers see none of the equity most of the time. So why would they take a deal that's all equity versus all cash when they have nothing to gain from the equity deal?
So that is a super important point you've made there, Sammy, because it just inherently shows you that the incentives are not in place at all for, you know, any sort of long-term, you know, real capital growth. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And so as much as I've like laid out some critiques around, you know, creators, the creator economy, they're, you know, they don't have the norms that are present in the tech industry that would allow them to, you know, skip over most of these potholes, if you will.
Well, I think one of the issues then, and this comes down to, you know, also the shadiness in the space and the bullshit in the space, is there's a lot less independence as a creator than there is as a founder. So as a founder, you know, you go to the VCs to blow you up. As a creator, you go to the manager or agent to blow you up. But, you know, if I'm a founder, I come up with everything. I basically am the business. I have the entire plan, and then I pitch the VCs to give me the money to help me execute on my plan. Whereas you're a creator, you know, you go to a manager or an agent, and you're pretty much fully relying on them to do your negotiations, strategize for you, and send you the checks and let you know how much you made. So I think there's a lot less self-reliance, which ends up with short-term thinking.
So the key word here to describe everything that you just said is autonomy.
Totally.
Founders have so much more autonomy just through the type of people who become founders, as well as like the, you know, environments that they grew up to develop their autonomy. Content creators, on the other hand, that autonomy isn't fully there. It's only there in the sense of like, I'm very passionate about just creating content, stuff like that. But when it comes to the business side, it's kind of like, okay, what am I doing? Who can I talk to and stuff like that? And you're much more likely to lean on them maybe too heavily in order to get yourself right in a business sense. But man, I just had, so yes, it came back to me. To kind of summarize what you said, I've always looked at it as, you know, founders build the systems that they need to, like, you know, the system being the startup, right? They're fully in charge of that. But content creators are a product of the system, you know, product of the industry, Hollywood, such like that, or to be more specific, like celebrities are a product. But the same parallel goes for content creators with, existing on these platforms, which we've all talked about here. So does that make sense? Do you see where I'm getting at here? So, my dream, my hope is that, and Cam, I mean, you embody this. That's the whole reason why I wrote the piece on you, is that, there are more creators who will become operators and you're already, a founder, but there'll be more creators who turn into founders, right? And they turn into founders, Simon, because because they want to launch businesses, and they want to launch businesses with Fanfix because Fanfix has laid out the infrastructure, Harry. You see where 100%. I'm going with this here?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think there's a great quote given what you were saying about products such as, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. You think you're a user of Instagram, you think you're a user of Facebook. You're not a user of Facebook, you're the product. What are they? They're selling you. They're going to the marketers, and they're selling Frederick Dasso, X years old, from here. You're the product.
Yes. Yes.
So Fanfix is shifting that balance of power back to the creator. We're very clear cut how we monetize. We take a cut of subscriptions, we take a cut of transactions, and we're a paywall platform. There's no shady, data harvesting going on. And I think Web3 obviously is a buzzword, but I really do think the Web3 winners will be clear and honest about how they monetize as a platform.
I see. And yes, transparency is going to be, a leading advantage.
Yep.
So the more startups in this space lean into that, the better off they'll be in my eyes.
Totally.
Fanfix is there to kind of provide this foundation where, you get rid of a lot of this bullshit. You get rid of a lot of the uncertainty and unsavory characters in the industry, so that the average person can walk in, similar into the tech industry, in the ideal sense, and, get connected to the right people, have access to the right information, so they can start off their content, their creator, careers on the right foot, instead of you're hearing, years later that they were, their manager didn't treat them right, or their agent, took a way bigger cut of the deal than they expected. So management is a huge thing. When I'm talking with these creators, a lot of them don't have, the right type of management. So one of the things I've always, not even theorized, I wrote this in another article on, a friend's firm who deals heavily with content creators, is creators need to think really hard about who they bring into their circle. How do they should build their team. A founder, has to recruit. It falls on them. It's their responsibility. That's that. They take it very seriously. Creators, on the other hand, it's just kind of like, oh, my buddy, does film. He'll be my videographer. It's just like, they kind of cobble people together really through chance. And, is that, would you say that's in the ballpark?
Yeah.
I mean, some may be more intentional than others, but I think there needs to be a norm of like, if I want to build a business, who are the five types of people that I need in my inner circle? Where can I find those people? How do I get introduced to them, right? What can Fanfix do to make that more of like a standardized process, rather than just, leaving it to chance that creators are going to come along and find the right person?
Yeah, I think it comes down to what I was saying earlier, helping creators think of themselves as businesses rather than kind of individuals. With if you're an individual, you kind of think you get success, well, you bring your friends with you, you have your friend as your videographer, and then your other friend's your manager because he was good at math class, and it's very like personal, and whereas you're a business, it's very clear cut that there are rules. You don't hire friends. Everything has to be white and white and by the books. And I think that's what Fanfix can do, help creators see themselves as businesses.
So building on top of what I'm saying in terms of a cultural shift, it's really a self-perception, right?
A mindset shift.
Shift. Okay. So this kind of goes back to a specific line I put in the story on Cameron here, which is institutions versus individuals.
Yep.
And so like we're kind of synthesizing this here, instead of like them being opposed to one another, we are transforming individuals into institutions, right? And this, institutions being a stand-in for business here. So no, I completely agree with you there. And I hope that more creators will adopt Cameron's mindset, Mr. Beats' mindset, and really view themselves as businesses. Because when you have what, recent studies show, like 50 million individuals who are, already creators, right? I want to see 500. I want to see everyone being a creator. I really got into TikTok recently because of you. And, scrolling through your TikToks, I was looking so hard for a TikTok with you and Capri in it. And I found out at the very end, and that's why it's at the end of the article, because it shows like how much you've grown and who you've turned into. But I just, before that, I wasn't really like using TikTok. Yeah. But now it's kind of like seeing, your content, seeing other people's content. I realized that it's like, wow, anyone can come on TikTok, create something, and find an audience for themselves. Yeah. Can't we do the same where anyone can, build on that, monetize, and then, become their own business? Like TikTok is really that first layer in my mind that this is possible, that this can be done, that this reality already exists. It's not something that's like in the way distant future. It's actually here and now, but people don't realize it yet.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I love technology that kind of actually innovates in a way that it's the most cringeworthy line of all time, but like changes people's lives. But I don't mean that in kind of a cliche way. Yeah. I mean that in terms of like, if you look at the first wave of the internet, that really truly innovated in the sense that rather than having to search through 5 encyclopedias to find what dates bears hibernate, you can just Google search it in 1 second.
Is that really what you thought of?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
that's what he searches all the time.
Exactly. And then with Web 2, it was you can pull out a phone, and on the user end, rather than having to drive drunk or wait 3 hours for $100 taxi, press 2 buttons and a car shows up, and it's Uber. And then in the early days of Uber, you could be your own entrepreneur and make serious money. I mean, people made $250,000 a year, I think, at one point, driving for Uber.
Yep.
Airbnb, you can rent out your spare bedroom and make serious income doing that. So I love those types of businesses, and that's what what Fanfix does.
Right.
I think one thing that's also very interesting is, search engines. Yeah. I know that's a boring term, but we're seeing a lot of Gen Z when they are searching for a product or product review or something of that nature. They're not going to Google.
Yeah.
They're not going to Yahoo.
I saw that article. They're going to TikTok.
They're going to TikTok.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're using TikTok as their search engine. That's very powerful because that shows a new age of the internet almost.
Search isn't textual; it's visual.
Yes.
So I mean, and in seeing that, it's kind of like there's so much more you can do in terms of how to engage someone if they're searching for you, through TikTok versus through a standard text, textual basis on Google.
And this is why all the brands now are hopping on TikTok, because that's where Gen Z is searching.
Right. But I mean, isn't there like the risk that with a brand or with like so many brands going through the same channel, it just becomes oversaturated, right? And it takes away from like what makes TikTok special, which is like you can just see anyone there, So I mean, it's just there's competing forces at play here, right? But what I really hope to see with this creator economy is is not just more people who become create their own businesses, but you can just generate different types of a new type of economy if like you don't have to work for just one person, right? Traditional the traditional employment is like you work at a company for like X number of years and then you move on to the next one, right? Instead of that, you have a completely different, like the term career doesn't even make sense anymore when you're a creator or even when you're a founder, because now it's more of instead of one-to-one, it's one-to-N or end-to-end in some cases, right? So I think that there's just the creator economy and the way that I envisioned in the article and the way that's been talked about is just at the very cusp of what could be a completely new and dynamic way for individuals to interact, for individuals to, accumulate capital, for individuals just to enjoy life more. Because now they can spend their time entertaining, engaging with one another versus like, you go put in your shift at a 9 to 5 and then you're passively just, consuming content or whatnot.
Yeah.
Totally.
And we're starting to see a lot of white collar workers or whatever it may be, from a lawyer, for example, who has grown, millions on TikTok, who are now full-time content creators. We spoke to a creator on Fanfix last week who is a Goldman Sachs banker at the current moment, and she is leaving her job at the end of the year to pursue content creation full-time because she is starting to build her membership community on Fanfix and starting to see this recurring revenue. And as she grows her subscriber base, she wants to dedicate all of her time to becoming a full-time content creator and to really focus on building her community. And we see this across all different verticals, all different industries, where, not just lawyers, but doctors who are becoming full-time content creators. We're seeing UPS drivers becoming comedians on TikTok, whatever it may be. And that's very exciting for us.
Yeah, the creator economy is the future of work, and the future of work is ownership and not having to rely on on your employer or on a brand's massive marketing budget.
Right. And, it's just kind of crazy because like we're seeing this happen with TikTok, but before TikTok there was Vine. Some days I think like, what if Vine what if Twitter actually, when they bought Vine, actually did a good job of incubating it further? Like all the stuff that we're talking about now would have been on Vine, right? And so, these developments would have happened earlier. We would be the creator economy would be like, it wouldn't be like a new term. It'd be like, well, okay, this is just norm. It's just like someone drinking water. It's water, right?
And I think I forget your quote in the article, but Vine.
Oh yeah, Vine walks, so TikTok could ride. Yeah.
Great quote.
Thank you. I mean, you don't know how long I've been waiting to say that in print. So thank you for giving me the opportunity, and thank you guys for actually like building upon that even further. So yeah, I think that there's just so much possibility, there's so much potential, and I feel like when we look back on this first podcast episode, we can really sit here and say like, wow, a lot of stuff that we've been talking about, you guys have already built or manifested, or we're seeing it organically happen because there's more support for creators to turn into founders. So any parting thoughts, any last, comments, guys?
Fred, I think we have a question for you.
Okay, yeah.
What would you like to see in the creator economy? What do you think needs to be changed? Where do you think this is all going?
Oh man. I mean, so I'm gonna have a follow-up piece. It's not gonna be on Forbes. It's gonna be like on Medium or my own Substack, founder to founder. But I really want to see, more support for creators in terms of community building. And I don't mean just community building with like a creator and their fans, but really creators to creators. Going back to what we were saying earlier, when I really think about it, that's the biggest thing that's missing, because there's a lot of tribal knowledge about being a content creator that, someone like Cam will accumulate individually, and he'll have his friends where he shares it amongst them. But there's not really a venue or a platform for him to get that out. It's not suitable on like a TikTok or Instagram or whatnot. I think something like that needs to be made. Like for instance, YC and their book face. It's an internal forum for Y Combinator founders to chat with one another. I think something like that would be super helpful, because once you get this tribal knowledge out there and it's commonplace, now you have other people who want to contribute to that, who want to, add to that knowledge base. And so it makes everyone more successful in the long term. Really having something open sourced like that would be like really, really good.
We got rejected from YC, by the way.
Hey.
In the beginning.
Their loss.
Their loss. Do you think that will, in what medium do you think that will take place? Do you think that is a conference series? Do you think that is a whole new platform for creators to communicate? Is that a new form of LinkedIn just for content creators and for managers and agents and people in the space? Where do you think this is going in terms of
creators accessing the knowledge in order for them to be most successful in their careers?
Oh boy, that's
Is it a Substack article put on by you? Is it Twitter?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Actually, I'm really glad you just said Twitter at the very end, because okay, I'm gonna use an analogy here. Like, tribal knowledge in tech is to Twitter as, say, a new platform based around someone being a creator as like, a career or job, would be the norm. So sorry, I need to put that in like a lot more simpler terms. I think it will be like a new social media platform. I think it will have something akin to Twitter, where it's like, you have everyone on there who's like
Truth Social.
Oh my God. Rumble.
Well, I lost a good amount of money on Truth Social, unfortunately.
RIP your investment portfolio, bro. Sorry about that. But I do think that this will take place. It'll manifest in a new social platform. What that will look like, how it will be designed, I couldn't possibly tell you. But I really do think that, something like that is going to be a massive boon to any and all content creators who are trying to make, their passion their full-time thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how that takes place. I think, we might see a move back to text, if that makes sense, blogs, because I know as of now it's shifted all to video. So, it's going to be very interesting to see what's next.
It's really interesting you say that, because like, it was, at least in my mind, Vine was like the first platform that was explicitly short video, 6 seconds, right? And then, you had the pendulum swing to like Instagram extending that to like 30 seconds. And then like, YouTube was always there, but like once Vine died and Instagram started to get saturated, like YouTube was like that new, became that newer platform again. Long form was like dominant. And now we're swinging back to short form versus, short form in the form of like Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok being the prime example. I do think that something like this, it'll be like Twitter, but longer form, and I think that Substack is kind of, that space to pioneer this idea, because in the same way that like, content creators are, with Fanfix they don't have to be dependent on, on these larger platforms to monetize, writers at these institutional places like Forbes, New York Times, Washington Post, they don't have to be dependent on like the brand of of these big papers to gain a following. They can go off on their own. So I think for stuff like this, the stuff that we're talking about, I think it will take something, form something like a Substack, right?
Because
I'm gonna disagree with you, by the way. My theory is that there's that brilliant Peter Thiel quote.
Yeah.
Everything in the history of business only happens once.
Yeah.
The next Google wasn't a search engine. It was a social media platform.
What about TikTok to Vine?
Well, I think the next social media platform won't be a discovery. The next TikTok, Facebook won't be a discovery platform. I think it'll be a monetization platform.
I like where you're going there with that. I mean, we'll have to see how it plays out.
We'll have to see. But I think it's in support of what you were talking about in terms of this all taking place in a Twitter-like platform, longer form content. Yeah. I think we saw a little bit of this in athletics. With Maverick Carter and LeBron launching Uninterrupted.
Yes.
A place for athletes to write blogs, educate their communities, educate other athletes on how to use their brand and their place in the world to impact culture and to make societal changes. So I think something like that in the creator world is akin to what you were explaining.
That is such a good point, and I didn't even think about uninterrupted. That is exactly right, and I think that's going to be like really close to what I think will manifest in the future. So really appreciate you bringing that up, Simon.
Of course, Soda Pop.
All right.
I hope he likes that name.
You can call me. You can call me whatever you like.
Soda.
All right, guys. Well, this has been a fantastic episode of the Soda Session. I really appreciate you guys coming on.
Thank
and, you know, most importantly, I hope to see you guys here again and keep up the great work with what you're doing at Fanfix. You guys are really changing the game, not only just for yourselves, but for all the creators out there now and who have yet to be. So thank you, guys. Soda out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brilliant.